You're with Al Jazeera. Reminder of our main story now. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have repeatedly accused each other of lying in their first US presidential debate. In a tense and confrontational encounter, the two candidates clashed over the economy, immigration, and a number of other issues. Let's go live now to Kimberly Halkett, who's in Philadelphia. Kimberly, the dust will start to settle on this, and, well, social media has already gone into overdrive.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And so has some of the fact checking. I've been looking through some of the claims that have been made by the various candidates. And while Kamala Harris made repeated claims that it was Donald Trump who was lying, and in fact, she was saying throughout that there were many lies that the American people would hear. The New York Times is also pointing out that Kamala Harris made some false claims herself. In fact, she said that during the Biden administration that they had created more than 800,000 manufacturing jobs. But the New York Times says that that is not the case. They also say that Donald Trump claimed during the debate that Donald Trump had tried to repeal Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, more than 60 times. Another claim that the New York Times is saying is false. But overall, there are a number of claims that both candidates made that were misleading or needed context. And we should point out that one of them was a claim made by Donald Trump, where he said when he was asked about abortion and the 6-week ban and whether or not, in fact, he believed that it was appropriate when it comes to abortion and what stage an abortion is appropriate. He said that he was very horrified about Kamala Harris's position that abortions could even take place after a live birth. And at this point, he called it an execution, and he had to be corrected by the moderator, who said, in fact, that that was not accurate. There is no state where that is actually allowed. So this was something that was done throughout the debates. And we should point out that, as you mentioned on social media, a lot of this is getting a lot of play. The fact that both candidates did stretch the truth extensively throughout the debate.
And what about the demeanor of the candidates? I mean, how do they come across then when optics are so important now?
Well, in terms of the demeanor, if we want to use social media as the barometer, so far it appears that Kamala Harris has likely won that debate. She started out rather shaky. She was swallowing, her mouth was dry, and she did appear nervous off the top. But she soon found her stride, particularly given the fact she has a background as a prosecutor. Donald Trump, who we know could be unpredictable at times, even though he is a TV veteran who has appeared on television and has appeared in many presidential debates in the past, did seem to get rattled by Kamala Harris on more than one occasion, particularly when she asked him about the crowd size of his rallies. That seemed to irritate him when she accused him of having empty seats at his rallies. And there were other times that she also seemed to get under his skin. But he did fire back a number of times, including when he even at one point blamed the Democrats for their Russia investigations, saying that, in fact, because of the false, what he says were the false and empty investigations, that he may have even had the bullet that grazed his head. In other words, accusing the Democrats of the assassination attempt on his life. It may have been one of the more powerful moments where he swung back at his opponent.
And they did turn to international issues at one point, with a brief discussion about Israel and the war on Gaza.
Yeah, that's right. And what we know from all of this is that Kamala Harris really didn't score any points here. In fact, she tried to show that she was a candidate who was turning the page. But when it came to foreign policy, she didn't have any sort of daylight between herself and Joe Biden. In fact, when it came to Israel, her policies were virtually the same. She said that when it came to Israel, that the support of Israel is ironclad, that when it comes to Palestinians, that she believes too many lives have been lost. And she also believes that she supports a two-state solution. Donald Trump, for his part, said that he believes that Israel's war in Gaza would never have happened under his watch, because he said that the attack by Hamas would never have been financed, because he says that Iran would never have had the money to finance through proxies if that it was the Biden administration that has allowed that to happen. So this is, again, another point that perhaps didn't fare well for Kamala Harris, because, again, she was trying to show that she was different from Joe Biden, but it didn't come out that way when she made her arguments.
OK, Kimberly, stay with us because there were a number of issues discussed, especially when it came to the economy. So here's what the two candidates said about taxes and tariffs.
I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China.
Well, back to Kimberly now. And Kimberly, they started off with the economy. I suppose no surprise there when you consider the domestic audience that they're aiming at.
Yeah, but I don't know if this one particularly played well in terms of trying to talk to the domestic audience. I think what they were trying to do is say that they were going to lower costs for the American public, but it didn't translate well in their answers. Kamala Harris was still trying to find her stride at this point, and she was trying to identify and say, I'm one of you. So she was trying to really speak to the American public and say that, look, I understand that things are expensive. And she did that a little bit with that answer. Donald Trump didn't. He identify at all with the ordinary American in that answer. He was really trying to say, I was tough and I battled China. But again, the answer was a little bit too wonkish in terms of policy and really didn't play well to the ordinary American who's just trying to put food on the table at a reasonable price.
Kimberly, thanks very much indeed.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.